What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Joe Commish here, and the NFL season is right around the corner. And for the reigning champions, previous champions, or wannabe first-time champions, now is the time to prepare for the fantasy league. And it's my favorite time of year. And yes, I take this shit way too seriously. I'm 30 years old. I'm married. I have 2 kids and all types of joint pains for my pickup days. So yes, fantasy is where I get my fix. And I'm gonna tell you exactly the perfect format. Let's kick out all the bad formats. And the bad formats, I mean standard. I know it's called standard for a reason, and just standards means that's how the thing started. Everyone who played fantasy football, this is the format in which they play. I'm going to tell you that the standard is no longer the standard. The standard is outdated, it's old, and there's much more funner ways for you to play fantasy football. If you're still playing this way with your boys, you're probably a grandpa. You need to upgrade it, because I promise you, just like everything else, just like the NFL evolves and all other sports evolve and the game changes, fantasy has changed, and there's a new standard. So before we get into it, I know you guys are watching. I need all you guys to like and subscribe, especially subscribe. This promotes the channel. This promotes the algorithm. More people get to watch me. I want to be with you guys. I want to be side by side. I want to be brothers in arms during the fantasy season.
I didn't ask you to pull me out of there, goddammit you.
I want us to help each other power through and win some championships. And the only way to do that is if you like and subscribe. Please subscribe. First of all touchdowns are 6 points, just like the NFL. A rushing touchdown doesn't score you different points than a receiving touchdown or a passing touchdown. Yes, even quarterbacks. I know you're going to say,
oh my God, but now the quarterback's going to outscore everybody, and only the people with the great quarterbacks are going to succeed.
That's completely inaccurate. What happens to the top quarterbacks happens to the bottom quarterbacks. All quarterbacks are going to go off together. Yes, there's going to be more top-end plays, but you're going to get a lot more from the lower-end quarterbacks that don't pass as much or don't run as much. It's going to level the playing field. In fantasy, you want as much parity as possible. That's how you become a great league, a fun league. The second thing, and there's a new standard now, I know you heard about it, it's half-point PPR. Not full-point PPR, it's half-point PPR. It's the perfect balance. It doesn't tip the scale way too much towards the wide receivers. Guys who have these top elite level RB1s usually have a crazy advantage. So what this half-point PPR does, it raises the value of receivers. The thing is, the top running backs, most of the top running backs at least, do a lot of receiving work too. So the difference between an RB1 and the wide receiver one, both will elevate in points in terms of points they get from the half-point PPR format, but the difference will be the same. Where it does come into effect is the difference between the wide receiver 2s and the RB2s. So what happens with a half-point PPR, the RB2s are now able to compete with the wide receiver 2s. The wide receiver 2s still take the trump card, but it's now a closer competition. Why? Because you get a lot of these scat backs, these backs that are used solely in this receiving game, the Naeem Hines, the Austin Eckler's. These guys get a boost. Even if they get 10 rushes a game, those 6 receptions out of the backfield put them in the same category as a wide receiver 2, which is usually a wide receiver that maybe has 2 to 3 catches a game, but catches a long bomb touchdown. Remember the hierarchy. RB1 is still the crown jewel. It's still the trump card. Then is the wide receiver 1, then wide receiver 2s, and then the RB2s. But the RB2s were so bad that the half-point PPR, it closes the gap, and now there's parity. And that's what again, I'm going back to this parity thing. You want a balance. You want to be able to have options when it comes to your flex position. You want to keep as many players in play when it comes to the waiver wires. That's how you get a good competitive league. I promise you. And yes, the competitive ones are the best. Everyone wants to dominate. But if you're in the league and it's not competitive, it's not fun. So you want parity. You want teams to constantly moving in rankings and structures. You want the team that's ranked 10 to be able to jump up the scale with a good win streak. Second thing you need to do is that you need to remove kickers. I'm sorry, kickers. We don't watch real football to watch kickers. I know you are important. I know you're very skilled. I don't intend to have my hobby, which is a game that I like to play strictly for fun and bragging rights, to include kickers. You don't go all off season doing your research. No one researches kickers. In fact, the only stat that correlates to kicking is that if you have a high-powered offense and the team moves the ball often, which means they get a lot of yards per game, then usually that leads to more kicking attempts. Usually. And still then, it's not a science, and there's way too much unpredictability already in fantasy football. Fantasy football does incorporate a lot of luck, as much as we like to think.
And I know way more football than that, dude.
At the end of the day, there's a shitload of luck in fantasy football. So the more we try to minimize the luck, the more the skilled players, the people who really take this shit seriously, and I'm only talking to you guys to take this shit seriously. You wouldn't be watching this channel if you didn't take this thing as seriously as me.
So I guess you could say things are getting pretty serious.
Remove the kickers. And what I suggest you do, add a second flex. Add another flex player. That way you get to incorporate more players that you did research on over the summer. You did research over the summer and you have all these great players on your bench that you can't really play, and they're more like rotational pieces. Now, these rotational pieces that you did so much research on, how you call them your sleepers, have pivotal moments where you could put them in certain matchups to get you some wins. It is to the advantage of those who actually do their fantasy research, because it's easy to identify talent when you're picking in the first round, right? Your RB1s and RB2s and wide receiver 1s and wide receiver 2s. Those guys are easy. It's not easy to identify a good flex 2 option. And you know who though identified those well? The people who know football, the people that understand the game of fantasy and how it's played, and the people with a great scouting eye. When you identify the sleeper correctly and he's your second flex option,
game. Blouses.
and keep defenses. Defenses have predictability, and they have a different part of the game that keeps you interested in watching the game, right? Keeps you involved. Even when your offensive players are not on the field, you can watch a team and watch for defense, because if they get an interception or they return an interception or a kick return, you are screaming just like if your offensive players played, right? What I would do with defenses is limit to 2 per team, because people like myself, I am guilty of this, tend to stockpile, especially late in the team when they're making the playoffs, just to play the matchups. And it's smart. It's ridiculously smart. But what happens, you want to keep the waiver wire wet. You want to keep options there, because any given Sunday, any team, whether you rank 1 or 12, have a chance.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah! Because you have a second flex who can go off, and your waiver wire is wet. I promise you, this format is fire. And then you have a 6-player bench. Do not make a 7-player bench, or do not make 6 players in an IR spot. Keep it short. Keep it 6. Because why? You put teams in hard positions to make the hard decisions, and drop a player that should not be dropped, or drop a player that's startable on your team. They may be on their bench, but that player could be your wide receiver 2 or RB2. If those players have to get dropped, it's part of the game. And then the weaker teams get to scoop them up and rebalance their teams. Your goal as a commissioner is to make sure you set up a draft date that works for everybody, a format that works for everybody, right? And you have to take everybody into consideration. And yes, even the difficult attitudes, you have to take them into consideration. And once you draft, you take your commissioner hat off and pray to the gods. Pray to the fantasy gods that you don't have to be commissioner again until you get to keep or give out the money to the champion. The less you have to intervene as a commissioner, and trust me, I've learned the hard way, the less you have to intervene as a commissioner, the better your league is. You're a commissioner, but you're also a player, just like all the other 9 or 11 players, depending on your league format. You're just another player. You're just another team. When it comes to making your league, play with your friends, your closest friends. If you don't have friends, then you could go out online. There's online platforms that allow you to make online leagues. But play with your friends and look for specific friends that all have different personalities. Even the ones that you really don't get along with because your personalities clash. Yeah, that may not be good. That may not be good for real friendship, but for fantasy friendship, that is perfect. You want the dude that you can't stand on your fantasy league. You want the guy that trash talks. You want the guy that's a super analytics based. You want the guy that doesn't really watch the games but watches highlights. The guy that really doesn't talk much and gets taken advantage of. You want the homer guy that takes up all the players from his home team. You want those people, because all those mixtures of people causes activity in your league. Start a group chat. You want the other players DMing or messaging them within themselves, making deals, making trades, because that's what makes a league, man. You need some wild cards. And in fact, most people that you put into these boxes, I promise you, every now and then will surprise you with a move that's outside of their character. And it's all fun. It's all banter. Shit talk, man. I know there's money involved. There's money involved in my leagues, but I really don't care. I don't think anybody in my league really cares about the money until you actually win the money. We are playing for bragging rights, baby. I want to tell you and remind you, when I win the chip, how much better I am at analyzing football than you. How much better I am as a scout than you. How much better as I am as a GM than you. And how I'm more clutch. Every dog gets their day, and that's your day. And together, if you subscribe, we could do this together. I'm going to take this chance for the big announcement. I want to start a fantasy league within the subscribers in this channel. Yes, you. Let me see if you got the grit to contend in fantasy with me. And you know what? At the end of the day, let's just have fun. No buy-in. All you need to do is comment below and then DM me on one of my other platforms, whether it be Instagram or Twitter, with the screenshots of your comment and that you're a subscriber to my YouTube channel. Then you automatically get put into the hat, my 12-man fantasy league. And the winner, you get a personalized piece of merch from the show. You get a t-shirt, a mug, something, and you get a shout out for your championship on the show, and you automatically enrolled into next year's. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. I hope to see your subscription in your DMs. Thank you for watching to the end. I appreciate you, especially probably when you hit that like button, and you hit that subscribe button, and you hit the little bell thing that goes right next to it, because that and then helps the algorithm. That helps me, helps you. Come on, man. See you later.